Good afternoon to you wherever you're watching us from. Welcome to Behind the News on the Nation TV, a program where we analyze, we discuss all the trending issues in our national dailies. My name is Bolarinwa, and you know how we do it. I'm not here alone. I'm here with our delectable in-house analyst, Mr. Adeyinka. Aderibigbe. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, thank you, David. Good afternoon. And to all our viewers from wherever you're watching, it's nice having you with us once again, and we wish you a very nice time with us. Please keep it locked in to the Nation TV.
All right, we've got a lot to discuss in our national dailies this afternoon. I mean, it's just a little past 12, though. Sorry. Taking it first from the Nation newspaper, the headline story here says, Presidency, APC slam, Atiku over hunger, hardship alarm. That was coming from the former Vice President's speech yesterday. In the windows, we have Dangote Refinery creates 24,000 jobs with 1,000 truck rollout. We also have Judge returns motion by Kanu to CJ for reassignment. Heading to the Punch newspaper, the lead story here says, Farmers fault federal government's order as agro-imports hits 2.2 trillion naira. In the windows, we have Tinubu Fubara end foreign trips, IBAS set for and over. Heading to Nigerian Tribune, the lead story here says, PDP demands legal backing for electronic transmission of results. And on the windows, we have Guinness Book of World Records confirmed Hilda Bassi's largest serving of Nigerian, that's the jollof rice, yeah. And we also have Nigeria's inflation rate dropped to 20.12% in August. That's coming from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. Heading to this day, the headline story here says inflation drops to 20.12%. I mean, moderation in energy, food prices. We also have Atiku, federal government's planned divestment of equity in oil sector JVs disturbing. Lastly, Daily Trust newspaper, the headline stories here says bandits adopt 55 in Zamfara. While in the windows we have mafias out to kill my refinery. That's coming from Dangote. And we also have Presidency, Atiku trade wars over hunger, poverty. Let's take it straight to the Nation newspaper where we have Presidency, APC slamming former Vice President Atiku Abubakar over his speech yesterday, claiming hunger and hardship. Taking it from the lead story here, he said, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar yesterday came under fire over his warning that revolution is imminent due to hunger and hardship in the country. Dismissing the alarm as a product of outdated thinking, the Presidency and the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC, said Atiku is out of touch with the reality. I mean, the back and forth is there again, and coming from someone who is, let's say, interested or vested in gaining power, and the ruling party saying, okay, what you are saying is outdated. It's just there again, and we are here again in the battle of it. Out of power, pointing out errors to the person in power. It's just, what do you have to say about this, Mr. Aderibigbe?
I think it is in the interest of opposition parties that they do not keep their mouth shut. It's in their interest also to continue to make themselves relevant, to continue to take burning national issues up with the sitting government. That, to a large extent, will ensure that they keep the government in tow, on their toes. And that is essentially the beauty of democracy we are talking about. If you had been the one that said that, you would not have attracted any attention. But because it was an Atiku Abubakar who had been, rightly so, a serial runner for the presidential seat, and who has been a former vice president of Nigeria. Of course, he deserves to be responded to. Not only because he's a statesman in his right as a former vice president, but because he's a leading light in the opposition party. And so it is right for the special advisor to Mr. President on media, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, to respond to him and to let him know that the government is not sleeping on its assignment and that things are actually moving very fast beyond and above where the likes of Atiku would have wanted Nigeria to be. I think whether Atiku or whether the presidency, they both have their eyes on what is happening globally. We all know what has happened in Bangladesh. We all know what is happening in Nepal. And so we must not drop the ball. Now, not dropping the ball does not mean that you should now begin to sound unnecessary alarm. You know, calling outright the possibility of a revolution, I think that it is too harsh from the opposition and from the person of Atiku Abubakar. If a Peter Obi had said that, we will say, oh, he has not been in that corridor before. But Atiku Abubakar, as a former vice president, there are some things that you ought not to push. Yes, it is fine as an opposition politician to be that harsh, to be very brutal. You know, all you need to do is to demarcate the sitting government, to make it look, you know, like a stale matter before the electorate. Yes, it is in your right. But I think as a former vice president, as somebody who has been the #2 man, as somebody who has actually sat in the corridors of administration, especially administering a complex nation like Nigeria, there are some things that, even if they are true, you know how to help manage. Not for anything, but because it has to first be Nigeria before you become a politician. There must be the country to govern before you now say, oh, okay, I have an ambition to push. You know, so that said, I want to restate the fact that it's too rash and brash of him to have come that hard, calling on the possibility of a revolution because of the issues about anger and growing poverty, especially when on the same day that he said that, the National Bureau of Statistics, which is arguably the nation's ombudsman in the issues regarding this matter, for which he has become the spokesman, you know, came out to say that month on month, for the 5th month, the price of things are falling, especially food items, and that is driving down the cost of inflation, you know, such that we are now within 20%, 20-point-something% on inflation. Remember that some months back, it was driving to 27%. So, with that figure, yes, we are still in the woods, but we are far from where we were when all that the government was doing was running a palliative economy. You know, all of last year, from immediately after the swearing in 2023 up until last year, Nigeria was running a palliative economy. You know, doling out rice, they are doling out beans, they are putting curry, putting pepper, putting Maggi for people. But with the turn of things from 2025, you begin to see that government deliberately moved away from the palliative economy that it was running before and began to handle the business of governance and running the economy. And we are seeing the results. The fact remains that though we might have issues with how the subsidy was removed, but it has been able to bring more money into the coffers of government, which it has, has been able to boost their capacity, to run effective governance. So the verdict of Nigerian Bureau of Statistics actually take the sale of whatever verdict that an Atiku would want Nigeria to believe. Yes, we are not out of the woods. Yes, things are still very hard in the marketplace. Yes, Nigerians are still feeling the brunt and the hardship of what we are talking about. But it is not to that point where you can begin to talk of massive repulsion of the masses. All hands, I think, and I believe, ought now to be on deck to help the government to get out faster out of the woods that we find ourselves. And we do that better by collaborating with the government to reduce panic rather than accentuating it. There's nothing the opposition party will gain by drumming the drumbeats of revolution. If it happens, the whole of the concept called democracy will crash, and the alternate source of power will take over to stabilize things. So if that is what will eventually happen, then what is the gain? Drumming the beats of a mass revolution or a people anger against what was not ordinarily the fault of the sitting administration. Yes, there might be one or two policies that did not really sit well and now triggered, but it was not as if they were the architects of the crisis we found ourselves. The things has been festering. So many politicians, so many experts, so many people had been coming with, okay, this could be possible solutions. Don't forget, everything is in the realm of probability. It is until you begin to apply what you think that you now begin to see whether it is actually workable or you need to retweak. So those are the kind of things. And in a country like Nigeria, with so much of conflicting interest, with so much of interesting personalities, with so complex culture, with so complex tongues and all, there is need to continue to rework and rework until we all get there. That must be the assignment for all, not for those who are holding the realms of power, even though they told us that we should not pity them, that they have the solutions. But when the solutions seem not to really be hitting the nail, then we need to begin to see that it goes deeper, and we begin to put our thinking cap and not to begin to see whether there may be the possibility of a revolt, because that will be like what Yoruba will say, yam pepe, scatter, scatter.
All right, so but it beckons to ask, he has laid his claim already, and definitely the offense he would have said on his own part to lay his claim. But as Nigerians, is it true that these policies are working in their favor, and are they possibly seeing the reduction of food commodities?
Well, I think that if we want to be true to ourselves, things are not as hard as they were in 2023, 2024. Now, cost of the most volatile commodity driving everything into a mad pause, which is fuel, has stabilized over a period more than 6 months. And that has had a stabilizing effect on transportation. The fact that transportation is normal is also having a dovetail effect on the cost of commodities. You know, can it be brought down further? Yes, it could. Because take for instance today, the roads were mad because there was heavy downpour, you know, and then you see transporters taking it up on the commuters. I mean, in ideal cultures and jurisdictions, that ought not to be, you know. A situation or countries' jurisdictions where the government take hold of public transport systems. It helps regulate things. It helps make things so that you don't just get to the road to discover that if you are not careful, you might not get back home.
That's it.
You know, so those are the kind of things. And when you are a trader, you have just a bag of commodity to go and sell at the market, and you are just discovering that the transporters are already telling you your life story. You know, you are seeing that if you are not careful, you might not even have anything to put on the table. You know, so you also want to jack up. Yes. And so those are the kind of things, you know, where we as a people need to help ourselves. We need to see the true picture of things. It is not at all time that the government is responsible for our plight. We ourselves are the architect of where we put ourselves. So if the vegetable woman, if the condiments woman, if the normal daily needs person is increasing prices, reflecting on the cost of transportation, is just right, because he too is an economic being, yes, you know, and he must live. He has dependents who are also looking up towards him, and so those are the kind of knock-on effects that all of these things bring about. We have not yet seen what the government is talking about in real terms. Yes, we agree, but you see, in leadership, you know, leaders are those who see things where the people may ordinarily be blind. You know, they are those who have the foresight to look deeply at things and defog what they are seeing and see clearly, even when everything that every other person is seeing seems scrambled. That is the work of the leader. And so if they insist that what they are seeing, the destination and the place that their policies and their reforms are taking Nigerians are brighter than the journey, then we must give them. After all, we have no other choice than to believe them. You know, they already have the mantle of power. They have the scepter to rule. You can only key into what they say they are saying, and then, you know, join them and join hands in bringing it to pass. We as a people have our own responsibilities. We do not have to scratch deeper than the pains we feel, all because we feel a mosquito bite. You know, if you do that, you might scratch even to the bone itself. And so we need, yes, we are going through something close to hell, but we are not in hell, you know. And so as a people, we need to also help in bringing the plight of the other man who is looking forward or looking up to us bring it and give him a sense of belonging. You know, turning everything upside down does not help anybody. You know.
Still on food prices and food price crash. The Punch newspaper say farmers reject Tinubu's order as agro-imports eat 2.2 trillion naira, and this is coming after the president issued a marching order that a Fed committee should look into crashing food prices, and all of these are just to ensure good and healthy living for Nigerians, to ensure that food is not a problem, that you with your minimum wage can provide food for yourself and your family. But then Punch is saying farmers are rejecting this order and probably should have come up with a stakeholders meeting for a fact. What do you see about this first?
Well, I think the fact remains that one of the very critical assignments of government is to ensure food security,
right,
for the people. A government that cannot feed its people has no business in governance. You know, so thank God we have left the realm of palliative economy. We are now dealing with issues of governance and the economy. You know, and one of the key things that the government need to do, that it is doing, is to ensure that it brings down the cost of goods, especially the cost of food items. One of the ways to force it down is, you know, to, like an order that he has, the president gave, I think 3-4 days ago, to the committee set up by FEC to handle that. But like the farmers have said, you know, the farmers are responding to stimuli from the marketplace. The cost of farming implements, i.e., and the most essential, fertilizer, maybe because of, you know, the import component of fertilizer, is not friendly to the common or the average farmer. You know, so if is a subsistent farmer and he has no cushion, is supposed to provide everything for himself at the farm. Don't forget, he also has to look at his back because of insecurity. You know, as he's farming, the cattle might just be coming behind him. The kidnappers might just be looking his side and all of that. So there's so many things contending for his safety and for his economic well-being that goes beyond a government sitting in the comfort and the ambience of the nation's palace, you know, and then dishing orders. If you want to dish those orders, you have to be in their shoes. And that's why I agree that perhaps they could have started with calling a stakeholders forum to hear out from the people and now come to the round table, now come to a decision. Coming to giving orders for a sector that has been largely abandoned may not ultimately produce the right results. After all, I remember in 2024, first quarter 2024, Mr. President gave a presidential order declaring emergency, state of emergency on food. This is where we ended up. Meaning that it failed. And so if you are putting your eye on the variables that could lead to failures of implementation of policies or programs. Except a government that is not careful about the effect of its pronouncements. If you are, because there's no need, there's no basis for a government to give an order that he knows will not be enforced. What's the essence giving the order? You know, if the people will violate it. You are pushing Nigeria to a point where they see you as not relevant in their lives. If you are relevant, you give an order, it must be enforced. If you are giving them the lacuna to disobey those orders, then we have to take it back, look at it again, and come up with something that is accommodating. Any other one will fail, as far as we can see. Because the farmers, largely 70–80% of them are subsistence farmers, and they are self-driven. There's absolutely nothing showing that government is for them. And so where such obtains, there's very little that government rules, pronouncements, verdicts, there's very little it could go.
Here as well, we'll be drawing the curtain, and well, even after politics, policies, interest, and all of these things play in Nigeria's politics as of today, we only can say that the people's interest should come first. The people's needs, wants should come first, and the government should see and look more into this. Here as well, we'll be drawing the curtain for today. We hope you enjoyed the program today. Thank you, Mr. Aderibigbe, for coming on the show.
David, it's a pleasure being here with you, and to all our viewers, it's a pleasure having you with us. Thank you for listening in. Thank you for watching, and please, we invite you to come back again when we are back on air. Thank you. Bye for now.
All right, till I come your way again, my name remains David Bolarinwa. Bye-bye.